Hello, everyone. Welcome to Arash's World. Today we have a special guest, Marni Goldman. Welcome to Arash's World.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. And I always like to start off with the toughest question, and then it gets easier as we go along. How would you briefly describe yourself so our audience has an idea of who you are, and then we're going to fine tune, of course, and talk about everything else.
Okay, well, I am a lifetime trauma survivor of every kind of unimaginable circumstances I had to live through, from being abandoned as a little girl to being homeless as a teenager to being homeless with my daughter when she was 2 and 3. I realized at 47 I've never been diagnosed, but when I became diagnosed, I realized I had ADHD, OCD, anxiety, severe depression, suicidal ideation. So my entire life of trauma, the dots connected, and I realized why I acted the way I had acted. I was not crazy, lazy, or stupid. I was just undiagnosed.
Yeah, and so you had such a turbulent life, but we're going to talk about positivity
Oh,
today, which
I
is
turned it
amazing
around.
after
Yep,
hearing all of
I
that.
broke it into beautiful is what I did.
Exactly. So yeah, you your book is True to Myself, Peace, Love, Marnie. I love the title, by the way.
Thank you.
And so as you're explaining here, so you've gone through a lot of suffering and trauma, but you were able to come out of it and to actually have a very positive outlook on life. Now, what is your secret?
My secret was that I realized I can't push rewind and get my life back.
Mhm.
So when I was spending months in a dark room and I missed my daughter's high school cheer game, that because I had never missed anything, I realized this is not good anymore.
Mhm.
And I remember reaching out to Nami saying, I don't want to be on rock bottom's basement anymore. And once I opened up the drapes from that dark room, everything else started like a domino effect of opening the lights and my smile, and took a while to come back, but reaching out, I realized there was help out there.
It's amazing because there's a moment where we realize things and we say, wait a minute, I can't go on like this. I think like a lot of us are going like on autopilot and things are happening to us. And I had a very similar experience. My background is very different, of course, and my
Right.
experiences and my suffering is very different here. But there was a point where I realized that I'm going the wrong path in terms of my health, both physical as well as emotional, mental, spiritual health. And when there was a moment where I said, no, stop. I'm not going to continue with this. And I mentioned this was on my son's birthday, and I said, things are not going well. I am diagnosed with diabetes, I have sleep apnea, I have high blood pressure, I'm obese. I have to change something. And I made a commitment at that moment. Now, it's not easy, it's very
Yeah.
hard. But the first step is really that moment where you say, I don't have to go on like this. I can go a different path. And I think a lot of us feel like we can't do it, or we feel like, well, I'm going to continue here and kind of victimize yourself and say, well, I'm stuck. There's nothing I can do about it. But you and I would disagree with that.
Exactly. It's a safe place for people to stay where they are.
Mhm,
It's a choice, and a very courageous choice, to step out of our comfort zones.
mhm.
For me, going out to the mailbox, first seeing the sunlight for the first time, it's hard, and it's a very hard choice to wake up with that positive attitude. It's very easy the sulking, and that's why people get together, they sulk together. So I live my life, I look at it like emotional sobriety, that every minute I am aware of my actions, what causes it. I cannot go to that dark side anymore. So things may not be perfect, but I'm okay knowing the universe will place me where I'm supposed to be, and that keeps me going.
And it's amazing with the universe too. I mean, I am kind of like trying to find jobs and so on, so applying to places, and it seems like there's like sometimes you try as much as you might, it's not working out. But there's a moment where you just say, okay, I'm gonna relax and see what comes to me, and then suddenly things fall into place. And this is just one aspect. I've experienced in many different aspects of my life, even like searching for a partner years ago. It's like you keep trying, it doesn't work out, but suddenly, like out of nowhere, you meet that special someone.
Exactly. Like when women used to try and get pregnant years ago, they would say, stop thinking about it because the universe already has a plan. What we think we need right now, it's not what the universe has planned. So
Mhm.
I look at life, rejection, it's just redirection.
Mhm.
Even if you spill coffee before you're walking out the door, you're being protected those 5 extra minutes. So I live my life as stress free because whatever I may not get that job I want, or I may not be
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
have many downloads as I want. But you know what? It's where I'm supposed to be. And this one way that doesn't work out, another way will. Even better than what we think sometimes.
Exactly, even better. But one thing that people get frustrated with is the lack of control. They perceive it as a lack of control. I'm not in command. I can't do what I want. But often, and in many cases, what I want is actually not the best choice. And so I realize that the other options that are given to me are much better. So we are kind of not seeing things clearly often.
It's true. It's like the Serenity Prayer
I
says,
love the
accept the
serenity
things
prayer.
and accept the things we cannot change. If there's a terrible storm outside, we can't control Mother Nature. So people can pout all they want. You can't change the weather outside. So I look at that with every other circumstance. If it's out of our control, I can't waste the moment we have right now bitter because all that's going to do is just infest my body and everyone else.
And we've had it with COVID. And I was one of, because I'm in education, I was one of the ones who said, no, I don't want to go to online education and online teaching because it's not good, it's not possible, it's not the same. And I was having a tantrum when that happened
Right.
at our institution. And I was completely wrong because I really enjoyed. I think in ways it's even better. And
Oh, yeah.
it opened the path so I can do my podcast with people around the world. So it's it's amazing. And just kind of when I get in that zone where I'm not seeing things clearly, I just accept it and just kind of say, okay, I'll go with it and let's see what happens. Let's just give it a shot.
Oh, absolutely. Like I just picked up my life and moved to New York because I want to try and expand my business, possibly get clients. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited to see.
Mhm.
I have no, if I went according to my plan, it didn't work out, I'd be miserable. So I'm just enjoying this journey and let's see what happens.
Absolutely. Do you trust your intuition with that? Because I
Oh,
find that's helped a lot.
I live by my gut
Okay,
instinct.
good.
I tell everybody, even those little pops in your head that says make a left,
Uh-huh.
never second guess anything. I go with my gut. In fact, if I'm trying to make a plane reservation and it keeps not working and not working, I'm like, I'm meant to be, and I keep going. So people that go against their gut, and you always hear them saying, oh, I should have listened to myself. I swear by intuition.
And it might not seem the best choice. I mean, most of the choices of my gut have been like out rationally, I'd say like this is the worst thing I can do. It just doesn't make sense. And I've been talking about how I met my wife, and it was in Mexico. But I went there to teach for a year, and it was like basically just after I'd graduated, and I was in debt. I had student loans. The wage would have been below minimum, and it was the worst idea financially and even like in terms of career. But I
Right.
felt that that was the right thing to do, and that's what happened. And things just got better after that. So it's even if it doesn't make sense, often we just go like, just give it a shot again. Just jump in there.
Most of the time, it doesn't make sense
Yeah,
right away. But
yeah,
at 50 years old, I can look back and
yeah.
realize, wow, I needed to be homeless to say to somebody, help me, and gave me the career that I wanted years ago. So we are not supposed to know right away. But
Mhm.
when you look back, you realize, wow, everything happened the way it was supposed to.
Mhm. And we learn most from suffering, though. I think like
Ugh.
that's like it's not something we want or seek, but when it happens, we have to really look at the bright side of it because there is another side to it, even though
Oh,
again it's awful.
it's completely, I mean, when I say I lived in rock bottom's
Mhm,
basement,
mhm,
and nobody, and to this day people aren't as educated about mental health and
mhm,
our brains being just as much of a functioning organ as if we have diabetes, god forbid do you
mhm,
take medication. But people are very hesitant to still talk about mental health and the
mhm,
taboo. So
mhm,
when I was in depression, my family would yell, "Get up, what's wrong with you? Get out of the house." And I was like, I can barely go get water. Like, I can't do anything. So there's so much that people need to still understand and have compassion, because they don't know what goes on in our heads.
But we're stepping in the right direction. If we
Yeah.
compare it like 10 years ago, and I think this has the movement has really helped out, especially the pandemic, again, a horrible thing, has helped us to reach out, to recognize suffering in other people, that we are all suffering. It's not just
Yeah.
one country or one place or one nation, it's everyone across the world. And to be more united, to work together. I think that is really a great lesson that came with this tragedy.
It's true. There was a quote Helen Keller said, like, alone we could do so much, but together we can do.
Love
And
that.
it's true. And it's, I should know that quote is in my book, but when I shared my story, I never realized how many people said to me, inbox me and wrote me, "I'm not alone. I'm not alone." And I talk about mental health like the weather. Like, if I'm talking a lot, I'll say to you, it's my anxiety right now, or, I'm not sure of what this conversation is going to be like. And I want people to just say, "I'm not okay," because it's okay not to be okay.
And a lot of people, exactly, they're not showing that, or they're afraid of showing that. And but once they do, they become more authentic, and then we respond to that, because you say, guess what, I felt exactly the same way. And that builds that connection. But when you have like everything is perfect, and I think we've been living in a bubble, actually,
Yeah.
kind of like in the 50s, where everything looks fine and we're all happy, and suddenly the roaming 60s comes along
Right.
and exposes stuff. We're going through that same phase again. We thought like, oh, everything is fine, life is wonderful, and there's no danger, no threat, we can do whatever we want. And suddenly things come and go down, yeah, and stop us. But that
What
is good, because that before was not true. It was the comfort zone, a bubble. It was fake. And now
I
we're face to face with reality. Yeah.
through, a lot of people saw sides of themselves, good or bad, that they fixed for
Mm-hmm.
COVID. A lot of people saw other people for who they were.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk about just loving yourself, that's how my book title came to place. I was trying to be something I'm not. And I said, well, that's not being true to who I am. I'm not true to myself. And I was like, there it is, true to myself.
Yes.
Something early, though, about giving up control. That was the hardest during COVID, because everybody wants to be in control, and this is out of our hands. So the anger, justifiably, the depression, the anxiety it gave everybody from having to basically surrender and say, I can't go to this place, or I can't do that. It was very hard, but it taught people a lesson that things are out of their control, and to just go with the flow, because we have to.
We have to, yes, we have to. We have no choice. And but we can make the best out of it. And that's
Make
the
that
option, the choice that we have.
Exactly. There's a silver lining on everything. You
Mm-hmm.
may not be at the restaurant you want, but you know what? You realized you had a new dish at the other restaurant. I mean, that's a small comparison, but there is a silver lining everywhere, I believe.
And again, being authentic, we look at the Great Resignation, where people have realized, this job that they've been doing for 5, 10 years, 20 years, all their lives, is not worth it, or there's something better out there, or they don't like the treatment, or they don't like the hours, and people are more open about that. And what you mentioned earlier too, with like, I think it's a whole reevaluation of like friendships and contacts, because then you realize who is who, and
Yeah.
who is really a true friend and who is not. And it just like, it seems like a time of reckoning for me. It's like reevaluating everything and saying, okay, I was wrong about this person, I was right about this person, and kind of realize where we are.
Exactly. I tell you, it's really eye-opening.
Yes.
I mean, anything came out of COVID, we saw a lot more into ourselves, I mean, which is the most important, is loving yourself and not being position. People realize, oh, I thought so and so, because you don't compare. And then they realize they're normal like me, because there is no such thing as perfect. So when I see people comparing on Facebook or social media, they have a better job, they have a better car. No, they don't. They're just putting their favorite forward for us to put our worst selves against a fake something.
Yeah.
And a lot of people realized a lot of it was fake, or I hope they did.
Yeah, and we see it with artists too, where I realize like, I like this artist, and then they do something, or they go in a direction where I say, oh my God, I held this person as an idol, and now it's like I'm totally disappointed with them.
It's
And
terrible. It's like putting a balloon, a pin in a balloon, and having it deflate. Oh, it's horrible. It ruins that everything we have. I have had that.
Yes, exactly. And it's come out through the pandemic too. Their reactions to it and what they do and what they say and things they've done as well in the past. And it's just like it's again eye-opening in many ways.
Yes, it is.
So what can we do to avoid negativity, or what can we do to increase positivity? And kind of both things. You have different strategies and tips here. Yeah.
Six in one, six, half a dozen in another. Well,
Mm-hmm.
when I just mentioned social media, for example, for
Mm-hmm.
me, when names would pop up. So I say block, unfollow, unfriend, anything that you see that's going to remind you of something.
Mm-hmm.
I have unfriended and blocked many people I don't want to be reminded of, because our mind, we could be having a great day and you see something that's a reminder, a trigger, and that ruins that great day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that. I believe for positivity, it's that baby step of getting that sunlight, opening up the drapes, opening up the light, that dark, because I have lived it for years and months. It works.
Yeah.
Laughing,
Yes.
laughing.
Yes.
But I understand. I live for laughter. Whether I put on my favorite comedian or I put on my favorite show, I could be in tears, but then look up and go, oh, Eddie Murphy, and crack up just for that moment.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I'm taking a stand-up comedy course right now, and I will have maybe my first show on Monday if I have the courage to do so. And it's something I've never thought before. And it's like, but again, that laughter is so important. And if we can spread it and cause it in others, I think that's so rewarding too.
Every day I try to make one person laugh or
Good.
smile. I do it multiple times. So I know I meet my quota first thing in the morning when I leave. Also, like around your house, I tell people, get rid of the clutter. Get rid of the clutter. If you have a dead plant, get rid of that. Cleaning up your space and throwing away junk. It's like this moment. I can't, it's this feeling of,
especially now, because a lot of us work from home, so that's our space, that's a living space, and it kind of reflects the state of our mind. And I feel like my place is kind of chaotic and disordered and stuff. It's like, yeah,
and you
that's
feel
about
that way.
that's about my mind state. Yeah.
And one thing I tell people also is to not engage, because when we react, now like we're infesting ourselves, and it's not worth it. Pick and choose.
Oh, yeah.
Pick and choose. I could go all day with my 22-year-old daughter, but it's not worth it. I protect my peace, and I say to her, I'm removing myself, I'm taking a time out, and I just leave the energy. And another thing I do is, just if I'm in a bad mood, hypothetically, and we're what? I communicate. I tell them, it's not you. I am in this mood. Don't start yelling, because we're going to have an argument and no one's going to know why. So I just communicate, walk away, protect my peace by anything that's a reminder of something negative.
Yeah, and we take it very personally, things that happen, and we don't think of that. It's like, well, that person might be in a bad mood today. Something horrible happened to them, or they didn't have enough sleep, or they're hungry, right? It's not. It's always like, oh, there's something wrong with me. That's a first thought, the negativity we have. And to move beyond that. Now, you mentioned at the beginning a very interesting point, which I've done, like, you block people, and you and social media and so on. But now I've come to the point where it actually it doesn't trigger me anymore. So what I do is I've unblocked them again, because I'm okay with this, and I'm not taking it, as we say, personally. And when they're free to state their opinion, and they might even call me names, but that's okay, because it doesn't reflect, again, who I am and how I feel about things. It's just their opinion, and it actually says a lot about them than about me, much more about them than about me.
Completely. Have said things to me, and I want to say, God, I know why you're nasty, and I get it. It's not me. And what people say about me is also none of my business. But I love, because I did, when I went through my block list, I was like, oh, she doesn't bother me anymore.
Exactly. Give them a second chance.
Right? I realized how that's a growth or healing on both of our parts, because I did the same exact thing.
But we need to go through those phases, because at the moment it was like, I can't deal with you. I can't deal with this comment, or it makes me feel terrible. And if it does, then, just just block them. That's it's so easy. And even like I think meetings, when you're not happy with a meeting nowadays, you just like end it through Zoom. In the past, you have to get up and walk out, which is like even more embarrassing. So you
Right.
just take it in. But now it's like, okay, I'm out of here within
Exactly.
seconds.
Exactly. Click by.
Yeah.
The one thing that is the most important is people pleasing, to stop people
Oh yeah.
pleasing.
Oh
Because
yeah.
when you people please, it's like saying, okay, I don't want, so and so to be upset with me, which is much more important than how I think of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wrong.
Been there,
And then
done that. Yeah.
people think, they have to be rude by it. And
Mhm.
you don't. You could just say, I'm sorry, I'm unable to make it. I have a prior commitment. I'm not able to, doesn't mean you don't have to be rude by, if you're invited somewhere that the people are foul, it's not good
Mhm.
energy.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go because I have to. And I say to people, why do you have to? Why?
Mhm.
And nobody ever has an answer for me. They kind of
Mhm.
just look at me with a deadpan face. But it's true. We don't have to do anything if it costs us our peace.
And being honest as much as possible in our relationships, and even like say at work, you're late. And we always like blame it on traffic, or this happened, or somebody got sick. But I'd like the person to just come up and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I was late, and just sit down.
That's me.
That's it.
That's
That's
me.
it.
I have said I couldn't figure out my hair. I was having a. I never make up those excuses. I literally tell the truth. I was having
Uh-huh.
a meltdown or
Okay.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what are some ways to practice that? Also, actually, negativity. Where I want to look at that too. When you have negative people around you, what is the best thing to do? Just simply avoid them, like in
Um,
person, not online.
as much as if I avoid it at all costs. If company's coming over and I don't like this
Mhm.
particular person, I'm
Mhm.
cordial, but I do not stay and engage, because I just know certain people are triggers for me.
Mhm.
If it's something that's not that bad, okay, but the minute I feel a little bit of, why am I feeling anxious? Why am I getting sweaty? Why am I feeling nauseous, for example?
Mhm.
Just remove yourself. There's nothing that we need to do. I mean, of course, we have to take care of our children and
Mhm.
everything, but
Mhm. Mhm.
on those kind of things, remove yourself and don't feel like you have to do anything if it's going to bother you.
What if it's family members?
I have a very tumultuous relationship with my mother for
Mhm.
many, many obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I She wants to call every day. I told her I communicate. I don't like to talk on the phone every day.
Yeah.
Do not put that pressure on me.
Uh,
When she has been over, I have said, I love everybody. I am just removing myself. It's too toxic, and I'm on overload right now. I'm
That's
honest.
wonderful. Yeah, that's good. And setting boundaries is so important, whether it's like, and that's because of people pleasing. We don't set those boundaries, but we should do it with everyone, even with your partner, even with family members and so on. When it's like,
Everybody.
don't cross that. This is like the limit, and just make that clear, I think. Because when you
Yeah.
don't, that's when it gets complicated, and that's when there's resentment and anger and so on, and
Yeah.
frustration. But when it's clear, you say, okay, I know where I stand, so everybody knows what to do in that situation and should
Exactly.
know. Mhm.
People aren't mind readers. So
Mhm.
when you tell them how you feel, nobody can tell you you're wrong. Feelings aren't wrong. That's like me telling you your favorite color can't be yellow. So it's like, this is how I feel. Okay, they can. It's not you worrying what you said. If they don't handle it properly, that's not
Mhm.
your problem.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
protect yourself, and it feels much better leaving the situation and going to your own room if it's a family situation than sitting there getting yourself aggravated. Oh, I
And,
won't do that. Or
and again, going back to laughter and a sense of humor, I think it's really important in those moments where, and it's our brain, we're kind of stuck and we don't see the humorous side. But when you look at it, a lot of our interactions, like with these negative people or with family members and so on, is kind of funny.
it's hysterical. That's where all
Yeah,
sick
exactly.
come from, if you think about it. Like, they look at me and I say, I know I'm nuts. I am the poster child for cray. I laugh at myself. I laugh at the situations, and sometimes it helps the moment
Mhm.
from stop and you tell somebody,
Mhm.
look at what you're acting like right now.
Mhm.
But laughter is probably the most healing, free therapeutic drug on this planet.
Mhm. It's contagious too with the smiles.
Contagious.
Yeah,
Did you ever
absolutely.
hear someone's giggle and they giggle so funny, then you start giggling and then we're all giggling?
Yeah,
I,
I remember one interaction on the bus where a person was laughing, just like, and there was like no cause. She was by herself, and everybody's looking at her and smiling, and we're waiting for her to tell us. But then all she did is like, sorry, and then we thought that was even funnier. It's like you're apologizing for laughing, and we don't know why, and it's just like so random.
just like negativity is contagious, so is positivity and
Yeah,
laughter.
yeah, yeah. So we see a lot of negativity, like whether it's in the media, whether it's neighbors and people around and on the streets, and what can we do to switch that? And it's not just ourselves. I mean, of course, we start out off with ourselves, but do you think just like spread positive vibes, talk to people? What should we do?
It's funny being here in the city. I always say hello to people,
Good.
but now I'm even more conscious because I realized me smiling at somebody walking down the street and saying hello, that could be the only person that's ever smiled to them.
Mhm.
So try to just give that kindness away and sprinkle it like confetti.
Okay.
Um, People may not like it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just do because it makes me feel good, I
Yeah, and
guess.
again, give it a shot. Yeah, right. Give it a try. And often we assume that people won't like it, but then they do, or they respond in kind. In many cases.
It's funny. I'm the type of woman that I literally build other women up. I've
Mhm.
never been jealous. I am the first woman. I complimented this woman once. I was like, "You are the most exquisite." She was a model. I'm like, "You are magnificent." She's like, nobody's ever said that to me before. Why support one another?" And
Yeah, yeah.
women are so threatened, and it's like we're all different. The makeup counters have all different kinds of makeup. There's not just one.
Mhm.
So a lot of women walk around feeling threatened,
Yeah.
just talking
It's
and
harder when a guy does that too, because then it's like this undercurrent. It's like, what does he want, and so on. So I usually like if there's a conversation, I start with a stranger and a female. I would say like immediately like my wife. I mention her somewhere, and so it's like okay, there's just to make things clear, and then I see like there's this relaxation or disappointment depending on the situation, but there's like a more relaxing attitude. Say, oh, okay, he's not hitting on me, or etc. So I think that kind of helps too, but it's that initial moment. It's very awkward, and it shouldn't be, I think.
yep, you're 100% right. I talk to everybody. I have climbed over the counter at a coffee station at the airport to hug somebody. I suffered so much that I don't want anybody to feel this much amount of suffering. So for me, I always like if there's a waitress I hear people complaining about, I would never write a Yelp review because, like you say, they could have
Mhm.
something could be going on in their
Mhm.
world. So that little drop of kindness that we spread, it just miles. It helps that person. It helps the person they're in touch with. They go home and now they're smiling. Now their children may be
Mhm.
smiling. So it's a domino effect, and
Yeah, yeah.
I pray more people can spread kindness. I pray.
And yeah, and so true to myself is when in your book you are talking about your personal experiences and how you dealt with them. So is it more like kind of an autobiography, kind of?
It's an
Mhm.
autobiography, which it's the most fiction, nonfiction like
Okay.
story I
Yeah.
read. But I also summarized it with ask yourself questions how you would handle it.
Mhm.
Have you ever been abused? Have you ever
Mhm.
faked to being who you really are? For approval. So after each chapter, there's a positive and what I've learned through it. So it's basically what I went through. How do I fix it? What do I do to manage it daily? So it's all full circle.
And so you're a spiritual life coach. So how does the spirituality come in? And we talked about the universe and so on. So
Right.
I sense a connection there. But what specifically are you looking at in terms of spirituality?
Well, I tell people that when I look at my life, if I didn't believe that the universe had my back, I mean, I am a walking billboard poster child for that.
Hmm.
So I just let them understand where they are right now on their journey is where they're supposed to be, and I help them find peace with that because I don't want to live in this place. I don't want to live in this place, but where they are, I help them
Hmm.
understand and accept this is where they're going. They are right now. It's not our permanent situations are
Yeah.
not our current situation is not our permanent
Hmm.
situation,
Yeah.
and people feel better when I let them know you got to trust the universe. If you get that red light, you were not supposed to be there. And I
Mm.
use 9/11,
Mhm.
for example, the lady who stopped to tie her shoe, that 1 second
Mhm.
saved. So
Mhm.
we don't realize it in our everyday, that universe, and it's said very cliche, trust the universe,
Mhm.
but you got to trust the universe. The times I was thrown out, and when I was abused and beaten, okay, but that put me somewhere where I met someone who helped me to
Mhm.
another.
Mhm. Mhm.
I trust the universe 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
We have to, and also help people understand if they're not happy, ways to become happy and find the silver lining in their situations.
Mhm. And owning the situation as much as you can, taking
Oh,
control and being accountable. I mean, it doesn't mean that the other person is right, or it's really about my reaction to that situation. And we can still like disagree with people. We can also have kind of negative feelings towards people, but realize that it's not helping, and just to be as positive, forgiving of ourselves and of others as we can. It doesn't make their actions right in any way, right? But kind of an
accountability.
understanding, empathy. Yeah.
Oh, of course, it's
Yeah.
funny. I'm sorry for people that can't help themselves, whether they
Mhm.
right, because I understand they have lifetimes of mental health
Mhm.
that they're
Mhm.
not aware of. For me, accountability and was the cure or the key to my recovery.
Mhm.
Knowing, oh, I act this way
Mhm.
because you don't, like you say, agree with it or like it, but no, but I can say I know right now I'm on sensory overload. I have to leave the room. There's too
Mhm.
much time,
Mhm.
and I am aware of that.
Mhm.
And so, sometimes my daughter will walk by me, for example, and she'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, and
Mhm.
I'm zoning out in my own little world, and I
Mhm.
used to snap back, and it's just, I don't react a lot because that disrupts my peace. So by
Yeah.
choosing not to react
Yeah.
has helped, but also taking accountability and knowing what's wrong with me.
Yeah, and so you've realized that like after this, like with this realization, you're more at peace with yourself. You have inner calm. Is that correct?
So much because I don't, so because I used to say, what if?
Mhm.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't do that
Yeah.
anymore. Just let's see what happens. This is where I'm supposed to be. The flight was canceled. I wasn't supposed to go.
Yeah.
So I stopped banging my head against a tree on things that I couldn't control. And my life is filled, not perfect, but
Yeah.
filled with.
Oh, wonderful. That's so amazing. So the book again is True to Myself, Peace, Love, Marni. And you have your own website, which is also Peace, Love, Marni, right? .com. Yeah.
Peacelovemarni.com.
Uh-huh.
You can order on Amazon. You could go to my website, and that's where people click for consultations to see if I could work with them and bring peace and a little bit of hope to people that are suffering.
Such a wonderful and positive experience talking to you. And thank you
Oh,
so much for being on Arash's World.
no, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Take care.